I'm Gloria White, and today is March the 22nd, 2023, and I'm here with Charline, Hawthorne, Muller. And this video is sponsored by the Heritage Museum of Montgomery County. Good morning, how are you, Charline?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. Were you born in Montgomery County?
No, I wasn't. I was born at Herman Hospital in Houston, Texas. We lived on Herman Drive, which is now the present medical center. Grew up with lots of good friends in Houston. Went to Garden Oaks kindergarten or something like that. I had an older brother, Monty, Hugh Montgomery Hawthorne, the third. My daddy was a junior. And we lived in Houston until my daddy, I'll start with, I was born to Charline Ray Hawthorne and Hugh Montgomery Hawthorne Jr., and they were high school sweethearts in San Antonio. Both of their families lived there. My mother taught school. My daddy worked for the newspaper. They came to Houston and moved us to Houston. My daddy was in bad health. He had a crippling disease of his back, and we went to Mayo Clinic, and he had a lot of x-rays there. I remember spending my 6th birthday in the bathroom in Rochester, Minnesota, when they were giving him x-ray treatments. But he ended up getting a clean bill of health. But before that, we had moved from Houston to Ingram, Texas for his health. He sat by the river and painted and embroidered a dress for my mother. And I collected eggs from our chickens. And I remember a wooden ice box that we put ice in to keep things cold. Both of my grandmothers were with us. They had lost their husbands. My grandmother, Mama Ray, mother's mother, and my grandmother, Hawthorne, daddy's mother. We all lived together in Ingram. Monty and I rode horses. We'd go to Ingram and get the mail on our horses, and made a lot of good friends in the Ingram-Kerrville area that Mother kept up with years later. After Daddy was given a clean bill of health, then we moved back to Houston, but he had a chance to buy a fledgling creosoting company in Conroe, Texas, and 2 of his San Antonio men buddies went in with him, and the 3 of them started Conroe Creosoting Company in it was 45 when they started the company. I didn't actually move to Conroe till I was in the 2nd grade at Sam Houston Elementary. All my 3 children also went to Sam Houston Elementary School. But Mom and Daddy started the company, Conroe Creosoting Company, and for 4 or 5 years, Daddy and the men ran the company. The churches moved back to San Antonio. The Billups stayed in Conroe. But then Joe Billups died, my daddy died, and it left my mother running Conroe Creosoting Company. And in those days, a woman didn't usually run a creosoting company.
Well, you remember what year it was when your mother took over?
Yes, my daddy died in 1952, and that's when she took over. He was 44, and she was 42. And until her death in 79, she was president of Conroe Creosoting Company and made an outstanding business out of it. My 2 grandmothers more or less helped raise me as Mother was working all the time. Monty was a very adoring older brother. He was 3.5 years older. He was active in school and football as a junior and senior year. I was active in different activities. I played basketball, tennis, volleyball. I was in the band. The band was one of my great loves of life. I was a majorette and drum major in junior high and high school, and Ed Cannon was my wonderful band director. Doris Simpson was my great tennis coach. I went to state in tennis, got clobbered the first round in state, but was good enough to get there, so that was good. I later played tennis. J. Fred and I played tennis later in life and had a lot of fun doing that. But back to high school, I graduated in 1956 from Conroe High School. I followed in my brother's footsteps, went to University of Texas. We used to take him out to Highway 105, and he would hitchhike to school. And in those days, that was okay. Now, Mother wouldn't let me hitchhike. She either took me or Monty took me. But I had studied. I had made good grades in high school. I studied and applied for Plan 2 at the University of Texas, and got accepted, and that was a liberal arts degree. My mother insisted I do something that could earn a living, so I got my teacher certificate, and ended up with a major in French, minor in Spanish, and no telling what else, and a teacher's certificate. But Plan 2 had offered a junior year abroad, and that didn't work out, so a friend and I made our own plans, went to the University of Geneva in Switzerland. And that was a highlight of my young life.
So you remember how old you were then?
I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, and I wanted to go to Paris, but they were having student riots in, 1959. They were rioting in Paris, and so I chose another French speaking. I wanted to learn French. And so we went to Geneva. And I was halfway in love with my future husband at the time, but I still wanted to go to Europe. So I spent 6 months over there and learned French, and stayed with a lovely family that put an extra room in her bed in her room, and we made a lot of good friends. And 3 girls from Virginia and I and my friend would travel every weekend all over Europe, because Mother had promised me a car my junior year in college. And so we picked up a Renault in Paris, and we traveled all the time, and that was fun.
Wow, wow.
Yeah.
So that was really exciting.
That was.
Yeah, and so you said you was in Switzerland?
In Switzerland, Geneva, yes.
6 months?
Uh-huh.
6 months.
And
so did you do anything else while you were in Switzerland?
Oh, we went to all over Italy, Germany, Spain, France, just traveled Austria, just every weekend. 5 of us would load up in my car and take out.
Wow.
Skied the first time at Zermatt in Switzerland, and we had a lot of fun. After I came back, I went back to the University of Texas for my senior year, and was more in love. And after I graduated, J. Fred Muller and I got married.
Okay.
And
was Fred from Conroe?
He was from Willis.
Oh, from Willis.
His mother had taught Spanish in Willis, and his daddy had L&M Lumber Company. His daddy had first started working for Hunt Lumber, and then he started his own sawmill. And so it's kind of a sawmill and a creosoting company combined there when we got married. He had gone to A&M and then the Air Force, and was back working in Willis. And I'd had a blind date with him after my first year in college, and then he was so impressed he waited a year to ask me out again, and then I put my place card at a friend's wedding reception or something by his, and so he asked me to the wedding, and that started our romance. Okay. And we got married in the Methodist church. I grew up Methodist. J. Fred grew up Baptist. And after we married, we joined the Presbyterian Church as a compromise. I was teaching. When we got back from our honeymoon in Colorado in 1960, I was asked by the Conroe Independent School District to teach Spanish. One of my favorite teachers, Mel Henry, was killed in a car train wreck at the Pepsi intersection, and they couldn't find a teacher in August. So I started teaching Spanish and taught for 2 years. I was 21, the kids were 19 and 18, and so that was rather tough.
But that was in high school, right?
Yeah, but at the old Conroe High School, and I enjoyed that. I loved teaching. And then I stopped and had my 3 children. Melanie was born in 62, Jay in 65, and Michelle in 67. Okay. And we raised our kids. J. Fred built us a house on Memory Lane. I grew up on Conroe Drive. And 1 block over, my mother, when we got married, gave us the lots that we built our house on. And my daddy's mom lived across the street. My mother's mom lived right behind us So
So
we
everybody
had
was close together, walking distance.
And my brother was 1 block down the street.
Uh-huh.
So we had a very close-knit family. My brother's children and my children were just like brothers and sisters, and we had a wonderful time. We took a lot of motorhome trips. We traveled a lot. Mama took us on cruises, and we were very blessed to see the United States.
Uh-huh. So tell me about during this time. I know you was a teacher. Did you go back to teaching after you had your kids?
Yes, I wanted to teach French since that was my first love, and I had to wait till Lola Keys retired, so I taught basic English at Crockett Junior High School, 8th grade, and that was an experience. They were trying to bring in new English and everything like that, but I taught English for 7 years, and when the French job became open, I started teaching French.
Oh, okay.
And at Conroe High School. I taught French until Mother died in '79. And then my brother asked me to come be in sales at Conroe Career Setting Company to help him because he took over in '79 when Mother died.
Okay. Conroe Chris, so they had 2 locations. Did they have? You have 1 location,
Yes.
2 locations?
One
location.
One location out Highway 105 East.
Okay.
And when I started sales, I was an on-the-road salesman. Monty insisted that I take my Dale Carnegie sales course and an aptitude test.
Uh-huh.
And my aptitude test said I should be a school teacher.
And not a salesman.
Not a salesman. So anyway, J. Fred held down the fort at home with the kids while I was on the road a lot, and but I enjoyed it. It was different. I had summers off, but in teaching I had summers off. Working I didn't. But the kids and I had fun. Our kids were very active in school, athletic-wise. Melanie was a basketball and track star, and Michelle was track and volleyball. Jay was football and track, and so we sat on many a bleacher while the kids were growing up. And
so did you travel local? Or did you have to go out of state when you traveled?
we took motorhome trips.
When you was a sales, when Monty?
No, I mainly did Texas.
You only did
yes,
Texas, okay.
I did from Conroe to Bay City. I did all the lumber yards in the local area. I did, other people called on the big city. I didn't do the big city.
Mm-hmm.
Later, I did get Houston and wish I'd had a GPS when I was doing Houston because it was quite a challenge to make calls in Houston. But now I think the salesman that works for me now puts it in his phone and it takes him wherever he wants to go.
So tell us what kind of products you all made at the
Career Setting Company.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing was poles, telephone poles, and Conroe Career Setting Company treated creosote, CCA, and pentachlorophenol. And we made poles, piling, lumber, railroad ties, anything that you would treat with wood. And I remember Mother telling the story that when she first took over, when Daddy died, that if she would get an order, she would raise the flag on the yard so that all the people would know that she had an order. Because she worked hard.
She worked hard.
Mm-hmm.
So you said, how did it feel? I guess your mom, did she get in? That was something that just didn't happen in you said 1951. When your mother took over the company.
52, right.
So she took over the company.
Yes, and but she and my brother, Monty, came back from the Marines and the University of Texas and joined her at the Career Setting Company. So he was helping her, and we had a lot of fun times. We belonged to the Southern Pressure Treaters Association. J. Fred belonged to the Lumbermen's Association. We went to New Orleans all the time for conventions, and Mother had a lot of friends in the industry. She never remarried, but she had a lot of friends that she knew in the treating business, and it was a very close-knit organization.
Wow. So you did a lot of traveling. And so talk about, I know you did something, you belong to a lot of organizations here in Conroe.
Right.
So, and can you talk about some of the organizations you belong to?
I did. I can. And after we got married, I joined the Service League. I was a charter member of the Pan American Roundtable 2. My mother had started the first one. I was active in the church. I taught Sunday school, and J. Fred and I sang in the choir. And then we played tennis. We were in a bowling league, tennis league. We belonged to Balladine Dance Club. He didn't like to dance, but I did, so he was sweet.
So was that a dance club here in Montgomery County? What was the name of that?
Balladine.
Balladine.
Yeah,
Where was it located?
We usually met at River Plantation,
Okay.
but sometimes other country clubs.
Okay,
And
okay.
We had 4 dances a year, and it was a lot of fun, just seeing your friends and dancing. And but it's no longer in operation that I know of. But then J. Fred and Monty and his family and our family and Monty's family and my mother would travel in motorhome, and then Pat, Monty's wife, and I learned. Monty took us to the bus barn in Conroe, and they taught us how to drive the big Bluebird motorhome. So Pat and I would take out in the summer with the kids, and we had a lot of fun.
Driving around.
Driving,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow.
We went all the way to California. We went to Maine. We went everywhere in the motorhome. Had a lot of fun.
Yeah, so that was probably unheard of. You probably see a lot of women driving motorhomes back then.
No.
And you were also, I know, I was reading somewhere that you was also made history in Conroe with the chamber. Tell us about that.
All right. In 1984 or 83, I was asked to be. We had always been members of the Chamber of Commerce, but they asked me to be vice president, which meant that I would then be president the next year, and that was a lot of fun. It was a learning experience. Being a teacher, I was never nervous at getting up in front of a group, so I could. People would call me Madam Prez, and I remember cutting the ribbon on the North Loop 336.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and I started the beautification committee, and we would go to Austin and lobby, and the chamber work was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. The year after that, I was asked to be on the board of directors at First Bank, Conroe, and Diane Dominy was the president then, and then later Sam Baker, and then First Financial bought the bank, and they had a rule that you had to retire at 72. So Billy Wood and I had to leave the bank because we were too old to be on the bank board.
So they had an age limit.
Yeah,
huh?
had an age limit, right?
Okay.
But that was a lot of fun. I would sit next to Arthur Temple and other men that were so knowledgeable, and I would just listen and learn because I never had an accounting course. I was a foreign language major, but I developed my son had gone into banking right after college, but I never had been in that industry, but I loved it, and I think they asked me because I knew a lot of people in town that I could maybe persuade to come join, put their money in the bank. But I enjoyed that, and then you had other questions about hospitals and roads and things like that. I have some old pictures showing roads when I grew up. Of course, everything was 2-lane. We didn't have any interstates going to Willis or whatever.
So it was just 2 lanes.
Yeah, we went 75, and I remember my grandmother, after my daddy died, my grandmother took her 5 grandchildren and let Monty drive some. He was, I think, 14 or 15, and we went to Los Angeles and saw a 6-lane highway. And that was in probably 53, I guess. But around Conroe and Houston, J. Fred used to drive a lumber truck on 1960 to San Antonio. And he was driving at 15, driving lumber trucks.
Oh, at 15?
Yeah, but the 1960 was a thoroughfare the way you went to San Antonio. They didn't have I-10 or any of that then. And when we went to California, we all were in my grandmother's Packard, and I can remember they put water bags on the front radiator so the car wouldn't get so hot, and we put water bags on the windows because there was no air conditioning, of course. And but it was
no seat belts.
No. In fact, when Mama and my grandmother and my first baby Melanie and I went to a cousin's wedding in Kansas, we put Melanie's playpen in the back of the station station wagon. You can't do that anymore.
No, you can't. But y'all made it there safely,
We
though.
got there safely.
You got there safely.
And had a good time.
Had there safely. So was anybody in your family involved in local politics?
No. And I have tried to not enter into politics. I made it a rule that I would never let anybody put a yard sign in my yard. But somebody talked me into it one time, and then the other guy that was running got mad at me, and so I said, no more. No more politics. I've never been in politics.
Okay.
So, and don't plan to be.
And so you said, I think, was it Monty, your brother, that was in the military?
Yeah, he was in, Monty was in the Marines. J. Fred was in the Air Force.
Okay.
And my daddy was not, he couldn't serve in World War II. But when we lived in Ingram, there was a retired General Fred Dent, and he would wear his uniform with all his medals, and that was, we were in Ingram, I guess, during the Depression and at the end of the war.
Okay.
And General Dent was a great man, and he would tell stories of the war. I remember one time, though, when we were in Mayo Clinic in a restaurant in Rochester, some soldier gave me some bubble gum. I was just 6 years old, and I thought that was a treat to get bubble gum during the war. And I still have Mother's ration books from the gas and groceries that she had in Kerrville in Ingram. I have that. And you had asked about hospitals. When we first moved to Conroe, we went to Falvey Holland Clinic, which was...
Where was that located?
It was on the north side of the square, upstairs. I don't know what would be there now, probably one of the courthouse annex somethings, but we would go see Dr. Holland, and then later Dr. Emil Carroll delivered our 3 babies.
So the hospital wasn't there?
No, no. What the old hospital was.
Okay.
In fact, my grandchildren, and I'll talk about my grandchildren. I have 9 grandchildren, but when I would ask Jay's kids, do you know how they knew, people in the waiting room knew your daddy was a boy? They looked at me and said, Mimi. And I said, the blue light came on. They had, everybody in the waiting room, there was a pink and a blue light. And you never knew the sex of your baby in 1962. And when he was born in 65, the blue light came on, so everybody knew that Jay was a boy.
Wow.
But the old hospital was where we all went to have our babies, and I think little Monty, Pat's last baby, was born at Sadler Clinic. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that's where we were then, and that was a lot later. And but as far as medical, that's all I remember about the medical.
Yes. Okay. We know it's vacant now. It's supposed to be refurbished into something else.
Right.
And so you talked about the roads. It was 2 lanes, so it was no I-45.
No.
And it was just 2-lane roads.
Right.
And so, well, I'm gonna ask you a question. You were female, and did you ever get any pushback when you was like from guys, and like?
Well, I ran for senior class president. And my mother helped me write a speech about being born a girl and like that, et cetera, et cetera. But Bert Lynch beat me for a student class president. I don't know if I'm not going to say it was because I was a girl, but anyway, so I didn't. But I was president of quite a few clubs in high school, and no, I really didn't get any pushback. I always expected the boys to be gentlemen and hold my chair and open the car door. And my daddy wouldn't let me go out if anybody honked. And
they had to come to the door.
They had to come to the door to get me. And in fact, I think I embarrassed a grandson one time because I said, "Aren't you going to hold out her chair?" And he looked at me like I was silly or something, but anyway, we grew up that way. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, and I have 9 grandchildren, and they are all beautiful, Christian, wonderful boys and girls. I have 3 great-grandchildren, and when I retire, hopefully not too long from now, I hope to be able to spend more time with my great-grandchildren.
Do all of them live close by or local?
The greats do. Well, yes. I have 2, no. Jay's daughter Hannah lives in Virginia. She's married to the military Navy, and they're in Norfolk. And little Cora was born, and I got to see her though when they came home for Christmas. And then Joshua, Jay's second son, has a little boy, William, and Johnny, his first child, has a little boy, John, and he's Johnny Frederick Muller the Fifth.
Oh, okay.
And but luckily, I had a chance to take my grandchildren on trips. Traveling has always been important to me for education, and I took Jay's kids all over Europe one summer. I took Melanie's kids to Croatia and Slovenia. And then my youngest daughter, Michelle, lived 20 years in France and now in England. And her kids had never been to New York, so they came for my 80th birthday. And before they got here, I took them to New York, and we saw New York together. I've had wonderful visits in France and England with Michelle living there, and but she and her family are coming home next week for my grandson, who lives in Cameron's, wedding. So
somebody's gonna get married.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have 4 grandchildren or 3 that are already married, 1 that will soon be married, and we all get together for family affairs. My brother's children were just like mine growing up because we were so close.
How many did Monty have?
Monty had 4. And when their mother died in '84, I just kind of took over, and we've all just been real close. Just saw them last week when one of their Heather's sons became a doctor, got his match day, and that was fun. And they're scattered different places, but we try to get together often.
I can tell you have a lot of energy, and I can see it in your face and your eyes. But your story is wonderful and amazing. You don't travel, and because your parents, you was telling me about when y'all get in the mobile home. I can only imagine trying to drive one of those.
My brother
things.
had it rigged so that we could sleep 12. When we went up to.
He had it rigged.
We had beds all over the driver's seat, bunk beds in the back, beds everywhere, and we went to Glacier National Park up in the top of the United States in that motorhome, sleeping every night, everybody, and had a good time.
Those are wonderful memories.
Yeah, they were. And then later in life, Jay Fred and I, after the cruise hunting company closed down, we started tent camping, and we got our tent, and we went all over tent camping. Wyoming, California, New Mexico. He wanted to go to Colorado. We'd have to leave Conroe at 4 o'clock and get to Colorado where it was cool, but for the first night. And we did a lot of tent camping.
So you were very adventurous.
That was fun.
So you had your tent.
Yeah, that was fun.
Wow.
The first night we were, I'll never forget it, we were at a Boy Scout, it happened to be there was a Boy Scout troop, and we had never put our tent up. And we had to ask the Boy Scouts to come help us put our tent up the first night we were camping. But we learned. I've been a big garage seller in my life, estate sales. I've made a lot of friends going to garage sales, and I have collections. So I hope that eventually some of my kids will want some of my collections.
So you have a favorite thing you like to collect?
Well, Jay Fred collected Griswold skillets. We got our first one. That made me think about that when we were tent camping, because we needed an iron skillet. And this man sold us this Griswold skillet. So now we have a big collection of that. My mother collected Meissen porcelain, and I've continued that. My daughter, who lived in France, gave me a lot of French lalique, so I've collected that. And Sabina from France, and copper molds from France and England, and I always gave my grandchildren antiques instead of toys. So they have some antiques and things. I have one grandson that could open an antique shop right now. He has so many. He's the one getting married. And but going back to grandchildren, my sons, Jay, played football at A&M, and Melanie played basketball and ran track at Baylor, and Michelle played volleyball at Randolph-Macon. She wanted to get out of the state. But Jay, I work in the same building with Jay now, and he has a reel business. He makes wooden reels for wire rope.
Wooden wheels.
Wooden reels.
Oh, reels. Okay.
Yeah, the great big reels that you put the wire rope on.
Oh, okay. I know. Okay.
And his son, Johnny, is the accountant or the business side of the business there, although Jay and Johnny help me because I'm not a business major. And then Joshua, his second son, has a manufacturing company that he welds and makes all equipment. And then Hannah just had the baby, and she's married in Virginia. And then Nicholas, their fourth child, is a Down syndrome child, and he spends a lot of times at the office sometimes, and I get to play with him or be with him. The Mounties children, Colton, McKenna, and Morgan. Colton graduated A&M, McKenna graduated A&M. I didn't get any grandkids to Texas, where I went. And then Morgan went to TCU.
Okay.
And she's going to be a social worker in Houston next year. And Colton has started a land clearing, mulching business, and he also gives hog hunts. He likes the outdoors.
Hog hunts.
Michelle's kids, Michelle, and when they lived in France, sold houses. She learned how to get around in France. Her husband insures yachts, so they have a nice clientele to be with. And Caitlin, her daughter, is worked for the National Health Society or Service, and now she's working in a catering event planning in London. And Samuel was cooking at a ski resort, but I think he switched now to a restaurant in Canada. He came over and I spent last Christmas in Canada with them. And but they're all coming next week to Texas.
So you get a chance to see everybody next week.
Yeah, everybody will be here.
Oh, that's like a big old family reunion, isn't it?
It will be.
That's going to be an exciting time for you.
Right.
That's going to be.
It will be.
Yeah. So it's a, do you remember any disasters in Montgomery County during your time here?
I remember.
Major disasters.
I remember one where we were all gathered together. I used to spend a month every summer with my cousins in Freeport. My mother had one sister and 3 children. We were very close. Only one is still living. But I remember when Carla hit Freeport in the Gulf, Uncle Eddie had to close down Plant B at Dow Chemical. And we were all nervously waiting him to get there. And he told about having to walk across the dikes with all the snakes and everything coming up. But that was when I was growing up. And then, of course, when lately, J. Fred was in a wheelchair for years. And when Rita, the first one came to Conroe, and we left and went to Cameron, and took us where Melanie lives, took us 12 hours, and so when the next one came, we thought we'd stay. Well, it went right over our house, and we had we could only get out the front door. We had a tree blocking back door, side door, in the patio, and so that was kind of exciting as we spent 6 hours in Jay's bathroom listening to a radio. And as far as I remember, the fire at L&M Lumber Company when the dry kiln burned down.
So is that what in Conroe?
Willis. Yeah, that was my husband's business. And then later, JFM International, they had a fire the coldest day in January of 2011. And 7 fire trucks were there. We got a call at 2 a.m. in the morning, and I could see flames everywhere, but it was just fantastic what the fire department did. It just burned the big building, but not all the lumber, so that was great. I remember seeing Moore Brothers Lumber Company burn down. I remember, of course, there have been a lot of sawmills that have gone out of business in Montgomery County. When we first moved here, there were Grogan Cochran, Brabham Parker.
Did you know Jack and the Parkers? Anybody? The Parkers?
I knew all them. And it was Magnolia, Conroe, Willis, and we still, in Willis where I work now, there must be 40 lumber trucks going in and out of Hickson Lumber, Steely Lumber, from Huntsville, Universal Lumber Company, New Waverly. They're all over, and it's but the creosoting companies in Texas are few and far between. There's one in Alto, Texas, and one in Jasper, Texas, and then one in Lufkin, Texas. And it's very difficult to get creosote poles right now.
It is. Oh, because.
Yeah, and there are a lot of CCA plants.
Can you tell us what CCA is?
CCA is copper chromated arsenate. It's the yellowish green, like you see womanized lumber at Home Depot or Lowe's or wherever. And we sell a lot of piling for the Gulf Coast. And I didn't even talk about starting up my company, Conroe Wood Products.
Yeah, talk about that. Talk about your company.
Right. When the creosoting company closed in '97, James Lumpkin and I needed a job. He was the sales manager and running the plant with my brother. And then I asked him if he would help me, and we started a wholesale company, Conroe Wood Products. And we started out over at London Town in a little bitty 8x10 office.
Where's London Town?
It's on 105 and 75.
Okay.
Or it's at the corner of 75 and Phillips or Dallas
Okay.
and 75.
Okay.
It had it's a fight shopping center there.
Okay.
Then we went down to later moved down to where the Bell's Palais Royal shopping center was. And then we came back to London Town, and I bought an office downstairs and stayed there. But did the same thing I did at Conroe Creosoting Company, except I was buying from the people that used to be our competitors. And so I started selling poles and piling and lumber, and James and I. And then James retired when his wife became ill, and I hired a salesman. And then after a while, Jay helped me. He moved into the office when there was a fire at his plant. And then later I sold my building in London Town and moved to Willis to be near my son.
Okay.
And he helps me with my company. And then I have a salesman that's on the road selling.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or he's there today when I'm not.
And that's Conroe Wood Products?
Conroe Wood Products,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so that's what you do now?
Yes, that's what I do now.
So you work every day?
I do,
Okay.
8 to 5.
8 to 5? Okay.
And I enjoy it, but at 83, I'm wanting to start. I don't know. My husband died in 2011, and I'd like to travel more, but it gets harder when you get older to travel. So I don't know. I'd like to spend more time with my kids. I'm not going to move in with them, but I don't know that I'll downsize or leave my house of 62 years. When we first moved to Conroe, the house, my grandmother's house behind me, was the farthest north you could go in Conroe.
Really?
I grew up on Conroe Drive, and then Memory Lane was the next, and Pacific Street ran along the railroad tracks, and that was the end. I mean, we used to go to the Historicade, the fairgrounds, and things that were just in the woods in that area. And Conroe downtown, Warnberger's, all the Capital Drug Store, Carter Drug Store. I remember all those. But the square has changed.
Yes, it has changed downtown. It has that.
Right.
Yeah. Can you tell us about any other event that you wish future generations to know about? Is something that we hadn't discussed. We talked about so far.
Well, the thing that I think that the older generation, it's not an event, but I listened to KHCB every day, going back and forth, keeping close by. It's a Christian radio station. And they were talking about how grandparents had more spiritual knowledge than the kids nowadays. They have worldly knowledge, I guess you would say. The technology and the opportunities they have are just mind-boggling. But I always tell my kids, or my grandkids, don't text all the time, call them. You know, talk to people, communicate. You need to, that's one thing I hope that will come back in style is phone calls, and a lot of people don't even have home lines anymore. It's all cell phones and texting and everything. So I'm hoping that and as far as an event, I hope that our school system and our country will take God back in and let Christianity be a major factor. It just seems like we're getting so away from that, and so much turmoil and killing and shooting, and school systems are having problems, and governments are having problems, and we didn't grow up with that. and you know, everything seemed to run smoothly. I had a lot of people die in my life that made things hard and difficult, but I've been very blessed. I've never gone hungry. I've never known what it was to really suffer. But I just hope that the younger generation will learn a lot from what it can be to value some old time religion. Give me that old time religion.
All right. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your oral history with us.
Well, thank
we
you.
appreciate it.
I
Thank you so
appreciate
much.
it. I always get started and I talk and ramble, but I enjoyed it.
Wonderful. Your history is very interesting.
Well, thank you.
Thank you so
Enjoy
much.
it.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right.